Best of r/Tales from Retail episode 90. Subscribe for Reddit videos daily. So, I work at a gas station. When we sell lotto tickets, basically we pull them off a roll out of a dispenser type thing that holds about 24 rolls of different lotto tickets and tear it off the roll. Usually they're numbered, so like ticket number 1, ticket number 2, etc. and all the way down to the end of the roll. There's usually like 75 tickets in a roll or so. There's a gas station, same company, obviously, about a half-hour drive from us that calls our store for workers if they get to call out at theirs and cannot find anyone who works there to cover. This is my first time working at the store, and I haven't been working for the company for a month at this point. Anyways, lady comes in and she's holding a clearly unused lotto ticket. She asks for my manager. I say that there's nobody here with me, usually only one person on a shift, unless you work mornings, when the managers are there, and she's visibly frustrated. She puts the ticket on the counter and says, this ticket is number 74. Me, yes ma'am, what's the issue? See, when you'll pull them off the roll, it goes like ticket number 1, ticket number 2, etc., right? So I saw this 74 on the bottom and I'm thinking that this is a reused scratch off. I couldn't comprehend a reused scratch off ticket as you can clearly see they've been used, so I was stumped. A line has formed at this point and a guy behind her proceeds to tell her, here, at this gas station, they put the rolls in the holder backwards, so the numbers come off wrong and it counts down from 74 instead of up from 1. I guess that makes sense. I'm glad you were here, but I was about to, and she continued to ramble on about how she was pissed in the moment, and the guy laughed it off. I will seriously never understand her logic. Thank you. Next. I think that many of you know that persons with serious mental health issues can be a royal pain. But what if the person is someone you know to be very sweet, kind, and generous? This is about how one business went out of their way to help my mother. My mother developed severe Alzheimer's that went from mild to moderate in just a few months. I get a call one day from the pharmacy where she got her prescriptions filled. They had looked my number up in the phone book. The pharmacist on the line verifies my mother's name and confirms my information. He then proceeds to tell me that they are very concerned for my mother. In the course of 2 days, she had come in to get the same prescription filled a total of 18 times. Every time being very sweet and understanding when they told her that it wasn't ready for a refill, or that she had already refilled it. What really urged them to call me was the fact that she was now obviously lost in the store, not even knowing which town she was in. 2 of the female employees were sitting in a side area with her, talking with her, and trying to help calm her down, be more comfortable. They wanted to know if I wanted to come get her or if I wanted them to call an ambulance. I went to pick her up. And when I got there, she was sitting eating a sandwich, which one of the women had run next door and bought when my mother said she hadn't eaten in 2 days. I was able to get her home, and eventually convinced her it was time to move into an assisted living facility. All of this could have gone so badly at any point, if it were not for retail workers getting to know their clients, and showing some compassion. I worked in retail for a long period of my life. And at no point did I ever really consider that I might be the one that saved someone else from tragedy. And to all of you I say thank you. You get horribly mistreated very often. But sometimes you might be given the chance to change someone's life for the better. Thank you. Next. So I work in a big electronics store that most Scandinavians should be familiar with. I work as the cashier and have been doing that for over 3 years now while I am in school. So I have plenty of stories. This one however is rather funny once I came over the initial disbelief. It's a normal Monday and I am working alone. Rush hour doesn't really start before 15-16ish. A woman and her daughter come down. The daughter must have been around 10-12 years old. They have a sleeve for a laptop with them and I scan it and say, that'll be 349 kr. And they both just stare at me in disbelief before the mother Loki starts to yell at me, saying that is not the price. Now in my shop, you can talk to salespersons and they will put in your order, where they can make discounts and so on. And every one of my co-worker does tell the customers to say their name or number at the register. But they still don't. So I ask if they've spoken to a salesperson, who might have given them a special price, while I look at the list of active purchases in my program. They say no OFC not and then, quite loudly, demands to know how I came up with that price. I am quite confused at this point, so I just say, I scanned the item's barcode, and then proceeds to ask them what they thought the price would be. 14kr. The mom loudly proclaims. I am even more confused now as nothing but candy will probably have that price at our store. I then ask them how they came up with that price. And the mother says, it's right there on the front. I turn the sleeve and I just stare at them. You mean the inch size? The mother-daughter duo goes red and promptly turns around and storms out of the store. And I just stand there with the sleeve. So the thing is that we get our sleeves from the same brand, so they all have the same packaging, which is white cardboard-ish, that covers half of the sleeve, and the size of the sleeve, 13, 5, 14, 15, is shown as a cutout in the cardboard. I cannot really wrap my mind around how they came to believe this must be the price, instead of looking at the price tags, or maybe in their world, every product had a big price cutout on it, but we are still laughing about it at my workplace to this day and it has been around a month. Thank you. Next. I have been saying I was going to start documenting my daily encounters at the neighborhood gas station I currently work 40 hours a week. I have decided that today is the day to start my endeavor. The inspiration behind this jump is a young lady we will call McKenzie, mostly because the actions of this girl in the story to come, eventually, is something I imagine a McKenzie doing. Have you ever met a McKenzie that wasn't a self-important, spoiled brat? If so, I congratulate you on this rarity. Don't get me wrong, I have had plenty of inspirations prior to today. My husband has gotten a daily dose of colorful customer antics, whimsical anecdotes, and elaborate explanations of the actions of the constant revolving door of people coming in and out of the small, dingy store for the past 6 months. I have dozens of scribbled memos and lists of people I want to make sure I don't forget. Names such as super tall guy, derpy slurpy John, super fun hair, makeup, and outfits girl, phone charger / CBD peddling guy, AA Dumbus, short, fat and sassy inappropriate guy, widow neighbor, scratch ticket Robin, white Paul Mall credit card guy, lispy crossword lady, same shirt guy, baby Eleanor's teenage dad are just a small sampling of the characters I have jotted down in hopes of remembering them all when the time comes to tell their stories. And I can't wait to tell their stories, because they are very fascinating, funny, sad, scary, endearing, heartwarming, restorative, motivational, but in every instance, they have made the list because they made me feel, in that aspect, the catalyst to finally start my chronicles. Definitely did that. So, I guess I am grateful for her. After filling her tank at the pumps with her credit card today, McKenzie came into the station demanding to know what was wrong with the public restroom. A sign posted outside the door stated that the facilities were out of service and sorry for any inconvenience. I quickly let her know that the plumber, whose work van and equipment were easily displayed in the parking lot, not to mention the visibility of the worker himself walking throughout the establishment completing his task of installing city-required backflow equipment, was required to have the water turned off for repairs. I verbally conveyed the same condolences that had been previously offered on the sign. Instead of graciously understanding my explanation, my newfound writing inspiration instead started screaming profanities at me, telling me how fucked up it was that the restroom was not accessible. She then demanded the name of the business as she would be writing a scathing review. I am sure I added to the level of scathe as I responded in my most syrupy sweet voice with the name of the establishment. Where will you be posting at? I want to make sure I get to read it. This elicited 2 more fucks. Fuck you and fuck this place, as well as a threat to charge back her gas with Visa. I hope you are as lovely with the customer service rep at Visa as you have been with me. Take care and have a wonderful day. The thing is, for every McKenzie story I have experienced, there are 100 stories more delightful. Stories that show how my employment at this store has changed my life, healed me, allowed me to rediscover my love for art, community, tradition, loyalty, perseverance, tolerance, humility, and grace. I started this job 6 months ago after losing my very esteemed 20-year career due to alcoholism, family tragedy, aka life. I've never been more grateful. Thank you. Next. So I became a manager at my work this past January. I've been working in retail for 6 years. A customer today tried using a coupon and it expired. Our registers were made by Satan himself in the 90s and there's no way for me to take any money off a purchase unless the coupon code works at all. After apologizing to the customer that the coupon is expired and didn't work and arguing with her that there is no way for me to magically make it work, despite not working in our store, she seemed to think she knew the register better than me. Thinking face, she gave up and said, is there a manager that can make it work? And I finally got to say to her customer, I am the manager. 100-point symbol, 100-point symbol, 100-point symbol, 100-point symbol. Thank you. Next. I do some subcontracted work for a store that sells small appliances. Someone returned a bar fridge at the returns desk with a complaint that it wasn't getting cold, and he had to throw out a bunch of food. He had apparently bought it on sale, and now it wasn't working. He was insisting on getting his money back, or a new model which costs at least twice as much, plus the cost for all of his lost food. So it got sent back to us to inspect. We need to double check that it is actually broken before we can return it back to the manufacturer. We plugged it in, and sure enough there was no compressor noise, so we went to check the compressor and there was no compressor at all. I took a closer look, and this wasn't a bar fridge at all. He had bought an indoor herb grower. They look very similar to a bar fridge, but all these do is circulate room air, and it had lights that turn on and off to simulate daytime. So of course this is why his food had spoiled. I checked the features and returned it back to the front saying that this machine was actually working perfectly fine for what it was supposed to do. My boss called him and explained what he had done. He offered him a full refund of the product, as it was obviously not what he had wanted, but told him we were not paying for any of his lost food. The guy reluctantly agreed. The herb grower went back onto the floor and sold that afternoon. Apparently they are pretty popular here in Canada for some reason. Thank you. Next. The original ordeal happened last week, and he came back yesterday to try his hand at giving us bad checks again yesterday. So I think it's time I post this story. Cast. Me. BM Badman. K, my co-worker who works at both of our stores' locations. Oh boy, here we go. I was at the front, running the register when this guy walks in. He starts asking me if we had these shoes here. He wasn't holding a box, and the counter covered his feet, so I lean over and see he's talking about the shoes he's wearing. I'm like, oh yeah, they're on clearance now though, so I don't know how many we have left. Then he starts talking about how they're the wrong size and how he wants to exchange them for a different size. I'm stunned that he wants to give me the hot and sweaty shoes he's wearing in exchange for a fresh pair in my store. And so I tell him I'm gonna need the receipt and the original box in order to do that. Of course he has neither. If you have a return for a clothing item, especially shoes, you don't wear it out on the town and then come strolling in with it on your body looking to get a new one in exchange for your old sweaty ones. Our return policy is about to change, so I was done with this type of return fraud. Knowing that I have no intention of accepting this return without the vital components, he goes around the store shopping. When he comes up to check out, he's holding some shorts, shoes different than the ones he originally wanted, and a reel that he had my co-worker spool up for him. And so we begin checking out, in which I ask if he's a member. He says he is, so I attempt trying his name and phone number, yet nothing comes up. He's already starting to get weird by now, saying that the girl from yesterday must have intentionally mistyped his information to make him mad. I was the only girl here the day before, so no sir, I didn't do that. So we skip it because he's starting to make me uncomfortable and I just wanted him out. The customer behind him is watching intently, looking taken back by this guy's odd requests and attitude. It's time to pay, and he pulls out what appears to be a checkbook. He asks for a pen and I give it to him, and when he's done he hands it to me, and asks if we accept business checks. I'm looking at it, and ask if this is supposed to be tax exempt. He gets all jumpy and says yeah, but before I can ask anything else he's like, wait, let me go get my other checks and to try to find the receipt for the shoes. So he quickly goes out the door and I take the next customer on the other side. This other customer is in disbelief still, wondering what this guy's deal is. He heard the thing about wanting to return the shoes that are on his feet and is laughing about how disgusting that is and how he hopes I wouldn't take them back. We have a good laugh, and when he leaves BM is walking back through the doors. BM is holding a check that still doesn't look right, and asks for a pen again. This check is pre-typed and he starts changing the number 1 to 4 with a pen. When he hands it to me, I'm looking at it in awe, wondering what exactly I'm looking at. The name doesn't match, the date is wrong, routing numbers are going sideways, it isn't made out to our business, and this man changed the typed amount to a different number with a pen on top of the original amount. He also wrote his license number on the top, and something else, but it doesn't matter because the whole check was trashed. He starts saying, oh yeah, that is my wife's name and I wrote the license number so you know it's legit, and I'm just like, let me get the assistant manager up here. She comes up, and by taking one look at it she's like, no sir, we are not taking this. He starts arguing with her, asking what's wrong with it. The money comes out of the account automatically, so just take it, which it absolutely does not, and is like, well, I did this yesterday. He didn't. She keeps refusing, so he leaves in a huff, still yelling as he's walking out the door. He left everything behind, even the reel we spooled with his choice of line. A few days later, all is going well, until one of the cashiers calls me up to help him with a check. I was right around the corner, and upon coming closer, it is the BM, and I say oh hello again, which he clearly didn't like. He was already jumpy about our younger cashier not just accepting it. And now when he sees me walk up he didn't even acknowledge me because he knew I knew what he was trying to do again. So I start looking at it, and I'm like, I'm gonna need to get another manager. The other manager and me have the same title and powers, but I wanted backup because I didn't know how this guy was gonna react when he got denied for a second time. I quickly brief him, and we walk up together. My manager takes one look at it, and is like, no sorry, we can't accept this. The guy starts pitching the same fit, like you haven't even tried to run it, just run it and see what happens. But my manager isn't budging. One thing I love about him is he is not a pushover, no matter how aggressive someone gets. He finally says, so I'm going to say this for the last time, we will not be accepting this check, and he just stands there, holding the check for BM to take back. BM storms out again, like he can't believe we aren't going to take poorly done bad checks. That is the last we have heard from him, but that only happened yesterday, so I'm expecting this guy to come back and try it on a different set of my co-workers. I'm just glad I won't have to waste my time calling the check clearing company since we all now know it's a bad check by default. But I have figured out some interesting things since then. When I looked up the business name for the check, which is supposed to be what seems like a kid's sports camp, there was nothing online about it. I found a couple addresses on the white pages, but no phone number or official website. The only thing I could find that was written by an actual human was some really bad BBB reviews that talked about how this company charged them $1,000 even after their child's lessons were over, and another review that said the whole thing was a scam. When I told my co-worker, Kay, about this story, she said she knew the guy from our other location. The store manager there was onto this guy and his fake checks as well. And she told me that one of the younger cashiers there accepted the check from him and now they're just waiting on it to bounce. Now we have a district-wide email about people coming around writing fake checks, and to be aware, if you're going to attempt to make a living out of writing bad checks, at least try a little harder. I know he has to run his family sports scam at the same time, but come on man, get it together before you come on stage and perform.